Who do you have for your 5?
Are we going to spoil that?
Yeah, might as well.
I'm not telling you. I'm waiting.
Man, fuck you. To be honest, I think we've already talked about this.
No, we have it on air.
On air. Oh, okay. Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dynamic Duo Podcast. I am Trev Snell.
Hi! I'm Liam Grogan.
And today we're going to talk about stuff that we always want to talk about, but there's so much news, it always falls to the wayside. We're talking about comic books, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about our 5 favorite writers, respectively. Liam will have his list, I'm going to have mine, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you the honors and start.
So, how do you want to... Do you want to start, so we'll do our 5, you do our...
Yeah, back and forth.
I'll do my 5, you do your 5, I'll do my 4, you do your 4.
Yeah, sure. I don't have them in any order, actually. I just have, 5 of the ones I think are great. I have one guy that is my favorite, but the rest are all just, I will like them respectively, and then I have a... Actually, let me go first, because I have a cheat for my 5th answer.
Okay.
My 5th answer is all honorable mentions. I could not...
Oh, fuck!
I couldn't decide on the 5th one. I'll tell you who. I had Stan Lee, Grant Morrison, Jeff Johns, and Brian Michael Bendis.
Okay, so you've already named 2 of mine.
Okay, that's good because we can talk about them. I won't go into detail with them.
I'll just say I have Grant Morrison and Jeff Johns as my 4 and 5.
Okay, so yeah, we can talk about them right now because I'll talk about the 2 that I'm not. Stan Lee, I've not read enough to throw him up there, but anything I have read, you just get this fun classic vibe, like comic book
and he's
vibe.
created everything.
Oh yeah, so it's you gotta give him a shout, but I don't give him a shout just because he's done that. I give him a shout because the writing is actually good. Specifically is his Spider-Man stuff. His Spider-Man stuff is so solid. That's the most I've read. But I hadn't read enough to be he's one of my favorites. Who else? You said Grant Morrison. Who was the
Jeff Johns.
Oh, Brian Michael Bendis is the one I had. He did the Defenders run. He did a really good Daredevil run. Jessica Jones he wrote. But same thing, I hadn't read enough. And a lot of the stuff is really, really good. I actually really, really like him. He's writing Civil War, so I actually think maybe in a few years once I read more, he'll be on there. But there's just not enough for me to do. All these are people that could potentially be the 5th one, but I couldn't feel strong enough about.
Fair enough. And I struggled too because I had 3 that I was like, oh, I really like these 3 writers. And then it's I love, I know I've said on the cast, the guys that are doing Thor. I absolutely love that. That's been to me, that's been actually the big standout. I like Scott Snyder's Batman run, which I've yet to finish. Actually, I'm on the last one.
You have to.
I was reading it, but I was I'll have a nap because I'm biking to Travis's. So yeah, it was tough. These last 2 that I kind of picked.
So I admit I coughed out, but
no, so did I. Mostly because I was you know what?
It's tough to narrow down
not just
5 favorites because there's so many good fucking writers out there.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is oh hey, I like J.R. Tolkien. He's one of my favorite authors.
No comic books, Liam. That doesn't count.
That's true. He's not on there. But he's got 5 books that he's written. The Silmarillion, all through Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and then there's the Unfinished Tales, whatever that is his son put together. But he's got 5 books. Most comic book writers have hundreds of books. Yeah. And it's I don't think there's a single person that I've read their entire
And that's
thing.
why when you talk about Grant Morrison, I love the stuff I've read Grant Morrison.
Yes, and that's why he's number 5.
I've read Batman stuff and DC stuff, but there's all these comics out there that are just ideas from his head that are not super they're
the Invisibles, for example.
Yeah, stuff, but I haven't read them. And there's stuff that people say these are fucking awesome, but I just haven't got around because in the world of all these comics coming out, I'm always reading, and there's a time where I want to. So he's on my honorable mention because the stuff I've read is fucking great. The Arkham Asylum series he has.
Yeah. Well, that's actually why I put him on there.
It's so good. And that's why, same thing. But I was I don't want to feel I cocked out and put him on there because I haven't read stuff like The Invincibles. I haven't, and I want to, but it's just it's like movies and TV. There's so much comic books, not only in the past that I haven't read that I want to read, just today.
Yeah, we only have 75 years to go through.
Oh yeah, and then just even today, all the shit that's coming out. It's
hard.
So it's but yeah, I'll let you talk about Grant Morrison because he's 5th on your list.
To be honest, I think you've nailed it. I've read his Arkham Asylum. I've read his Wonder Woman stuff.
And the art in that,
he did Year One as well, correct?
Of Batman?
No, sorry, no, I'm thinking of a different one. But everything that I've read of him is really good, and he's different, and that's why he made my list.
Very unique. You can tell it's Grant Morrison when you're reading.
Yeah,
I've not even read that much.
And it's the same thing with, I assume it's going to be our number 1 and 2, no spoilers. It's what they do is very unique, and it's very different than what everybody else is doing, and it kind of sets precedence for what's going on it sends ripples throughout the comic book community and through the movies as well. And there's just something about him that I find special. And he's not even an old guy. He's like 40s or whatever.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, like, he's got a lot more to write, too. So, like, I'm excited to see where he goes and what else he's going to bring us.
Yeah.
The next one that I had as my 4 and that you had...
Well, yeah, you talk about... Yeah, because...
Was Jeff Johns.
I think the best Green Lantern writer in history, Green Lantern Rebirth, is phenomenal. One thing I'll shout out just recently, I know you haven't read yet, DC Rebirth is fucking killer. And
is it?
Despite people maybe like the whole controversy of like the Watchmen being in it, take that out of it. The story is exactly what I want the movies to be, but the story is so strong. It's one of the best like single like stories ever, and it's this whole like nice kind of they reboot it, but it doesn't feel like a reboot at all, and it's not a reboot. It's just like taking things from the past and meshing them with the future, and it's phenomenal. But that is great. I have it in my notes too. What else?
My personal favorite that he's done is Aquaman.
Right, because he did that.
I picked
Sinestro
up for
Corpse. That was the other ones he did.
And then so for the New 52, it was Aquaman, and I was at the store that I buy my comic books at, and I was like, hey, like, I've heard good things about this Aquaman. And he's like, you know what? A lot of people are picking it up, coming back, and being like, no, it was actually really good.
Yeah.
So I bought the first 2 volumes, and, like, the first couple issues makes fun of Aquaman. And everybody's like, you're Aquaman. What are you going to do? And then he ends up saving them. And it was kind of nice that it took that, like, how we view Aquaman.
Oh, yeah. How society, really.
Yeah, and then it kind of turns it on his head. It's like, he's still a badass.
Yeah.
And I know I'm almost positive from his run is that thing where he's, like, at the ocean and all the sea creatures are coming out and, like, the shark and Kraken and stuff. Like, it was really good. Like, what he does is like you can tell that he's in his element. This is his thing, and he's got his hands in everywhere, and it's just great. I really like what he does. Every time I read it, I feel satisfied.
Oh, and I agree, and that's why, despite him not having much film like whatever, what the fuck, experience. Why did I just forget the word experience?
It happens.
What's wrong with me? Despite that, I really hope he does get to do some great things with the films, because he does have, and that's one thing I would say about Rebirth, is he does have this thing where his hands are in everything, but it all makes sense and it's all great.
Yeah.
And his stuff is unique, but it's not like Grant Morrison unique, where it's like, man, that's a big shit. But like stuff like Batman Earth 1,
that's the one that I was talking about.
Yeah,
not Year 1, Earth 1.
Earth 1, that was, for Jeff Johns, that was another great one. He's just like, I don't know if it's he doesn't have a uniqueness like a Morrison or like an Alan Morrison like that, but it's just really good.
You know what he reminds me of is Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Everything he does is like, even like, I know we talked about it on our other podcasts, Bridge of Spies. It was a pretty paint by numbers film. You saw it was coming, but the way that it was shot was so well done. Everything that Spielberg does is well done. It's executed how it needs to be executed. The pacing is always perfect. Like, everything just works in the film. And when
he does take a big risk, it pays off. He doesn't take them all the time, but when he does, like bringing Hal Jordan back when he did, and he made that character great again. No Donald Trump on. But like when he made it great again, that was fantastic. And he does even the same thing with Rebirth. He does this great thing about DC having this like theme of hope. You know, and I think that is when DC is the best when it has this big, like, God, like we've talked about, it's more cinematic than Marvel. It is. And he does a good job at that with his material, but not making it overabundance dark. With Batman Earth 1, it is dark, but it's because, once again, it's Batman. He should be darker. But with Green Lantern, there are dark moments, but it's not, it feels like a story of hope and triumph and things like that.
It's not like a Frank Miller dark.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and that's why he almost made on there. There's more stuff of him I want to read, but like, he was probably the closest. It was between him and Stan Lee, because I almost give Stan Lee the nudge just because like
because he's a classic.
He's classic, and the stuff that like I said I have read, maybe it's a little dated, but it's like a great classic movie you watch. Like for what it was back then, I was like, it's great. But Jeff Johns, he's just quality. He's a great
he truly is. I can't speak highly enough about him.
He's the guy. Same thing. And I haven't read the Aquaman series. You've told me to, and I want to at some point.
I'll let you borrow it. Actually, I'll bring it over next time.
Do that. Yeah, he's a guy that when his name is on it, I know most likely will be getting my dollar's worth. You know, I will not feel like you said you feel satisfied at the end of it. I'll go number 4 because you did your 5 and 4. Okay. I have Frank Miller's number 4. Like I said, no order of best or bad.
Okay.
No, the reason why he's on the list is because he is easily one of the best writers.
Yeah, he's on my list too.
Of all time. Yeah, he's one of the best. Well, then we can just talk.
We'll just talk about him right now.
He's one of the best writers ever. Batman Year 1, you can't say much.
Daredevil.
Dark Knight Returns, and I was going to say Daredevil.
Punisher.
Yeah, Punisher, Daredevil. The reason he's actually mainly on the list for me is Daredevil. Born Again. It's fucking phenomenal. It's one of the best Daredevil stories, and Matt Murdock's not even Daredevil that most of the time, you know. And he does this great origin with Man of Fear, so that's great. With Batman, the only reason he's a bit lower is two reasons. One, with Dark Knight Returns, it's fantastic. We've talked about before how I think we've both said it's not our favorite Batman story. I think is because like we've said before, it happened in a time where Batman was light and he came in. We grew up with Batman as dark, so for us reading in perspective. But the story, it's easily one of the best comic book storylines of all time.
And to me, he's on there actually for the Punisher because he's his involvement with Daredevil. Because I mean, it's Batman. With Zack Snyder aside, it's kind of hard to fuck up Batman.
Yeah.
Because Batman is just an interesting character.
Yeah.
So, but what he did is he just elevated. He took an entirely new look at it.
Oh, yeah. And the people after, like a Jeff Loeb or Scott Snyder, they wouldn't be where they were without Frank Miller. And that's why I know Frank Miller has one of the most important spots in comic books. The reason he's maybe a bit lower, and like I said, I didn't really number it, but the reason he is a bit lower, he's not like, this is my favorite writer, is because he doesn't maybe have the best concept of Batman in The Dark Knight Returns.
Fair enough.
It is his version of Batman, and this is me being biased, but like I don't like him being so violent. Not so bad in Dark Knight Returns, but it's an all-star Batman when he like the classic. He's like, I'm the goddamn Batman, and the thing where he locks Dick Grayson up for 2 weeks and feeds him rats, and it's like. That's where it is lower for me, where he doesn't... But
see, I like that he took the Bruce Wayne and Batman is insane.
But too much insane.
Fair enough,
lock Dick Grayson up for a week.
But from what we had prior to what Batman was, like, essentially it was Batman 66 until The Dark Knight came out.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh yeah, he's not a campy superhero.
Yeah.
He's a fucking BA. And you can see how that's been like, that's Batman now.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it.
And
that's
I agree, but then I think he just went too far. It's kind of like what we've talked about before with Leto, when I felt like he has an idea what the Joker was. I feel like he had an idea what Batman was, but then it just kept growing and growing. And like I said, just even a line like, I'm the goddamn Batman, for me, it's just like, he made Batman what he thinks Batman is instead of what he actually is. He just kind of like, oh, well, I would like my Batman to do this, so he's going to do this. But it didn't really fit the stories, especially like, that's the Dick Grayson thing always bugged me, because he is supposed to be like a father figure to those kids, and it's like, him like feeding him rats and kind of torturing him a bit. Didn't really, like, it didn't, that stuff I was like, I didn't like. And the other reason why he's a bit lower, and we'll bump in this probably someone else on the list, he's kind of an asshole in real life.
Yeah, it's the same with another person that I know.
Yeah,
he's a huge asshole.
And it's one of those things that we talked about on a Rant and Repeat. I'm not sure if it's happened before or after, but we talked about man crushes, and it's the same thing why on this list he's a bit lower for me, because he's great, but as a person, I find it sometimes hard to. I do like his work, but it's like, oh, like I hate that I like his work because he's kind of a dick. It's stuff even like, you know, they asked about Elektra being in Daredevil, and he just shits all over it. And I don't even know if he had seen it yet, but he just shits all over and blah, blah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know. I've never created something as big as Batman or a comic book, but I guess I'm just a different mindset. Maybe when I create something, I'll feel different, but I'd never like the creator that creates something and just like in a comic book world or like a film world, it's just like, this is mine. And like, if you touch it, like,
yeah,
it depends on certain instances, but with like a comic book character or whatnot,
with something as far expansing and far reaching as a comic book, where you really have full reign to do whatever you want.
Yeah, and even Daredevil, they said we're just trying to do the Frank Miller Elektra, and he's still like, fuck them. It's like,
yeah,
what, like,
he does seem like like, and like, but then there's like, for example, like Craig, the Tolkien estate that says no more, nobody gets to touch him again.
Yeah,
thanks Peter Jack. Well, actually no, thanks to Ensign for being fucking dicks.
Yeah,
and Hollywood accounting. Like, I totally see that. Nobody should ever write in that world, because what they have is perfect. Whereas when you have, especially in a comic book or even a video game, you know, you have a world that you can
build upon.
Yeah, you could build upon. You saying, hey, you could do a tight little story here, because it just works in those runs like that.
Yeah,
like, hey, I can just do a 6-issue Batman run where he fucking just kills everybody. Like,
yeah,
or like when Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
you know, so it's
yeah, I kind of see how he's with Elektra, because he created her, but it's just like, I don't know, I hate like the George Lucas like bitter old guy when it's just like, just let it go, man. Like, people are making you sold, and especially Lucas, it's like, you sold it. This is your fault. Like, but with Miller, it's just like, people are gonna try and do a different take of the character. Yeah, and people are gonna try and do a different take of the character, and you should kind of be employing that, in my opinion, because like your character is living on, and like, I don't know. So that was like, he is a fantastic writer, one of the best writers of all time. legitimately, I love the Dark Knight Returns. It is great. I just always get flack because when I feel like it's a bullshit thing when people like it's not your favorite Batman thing. People are like, well, what do you mean? Like it has to be your favorite. It's like no, it doesn't.
What is your favorite Batman story?
What? Long Halloween, which
Halloween?
I let you borrow.
Yeah,
you have to read it before you leave. But like, yeah, that is my favorite, and it's just like because I love detective. I love it. It has a good essence of Batman. Blah blah. Blah I've talked about before, but with Miller, still, Dark Knight Returns is so good. It is a fucking 10 out of 10 piece, but it's just, like I said, it's stuff that happens later on with All-Star Batman. He maybe doesn't get Batman, and then he's kind of a dick, but then that and Born Again, Daredevil, I've stressed it before, but it's so good. I almost like it more than Batman because he seemed to have a better grasp of Daredevil, the character, than Batman. With Matt, he doesn't go to certain places he did with Bruce, so, yeah, Frank Miller's there. Oh, I guess, he's on yours, too, so...
Yeah, Frank. Oh, I mean, we've talked about Frank Miller. Yeah, he is. He's an icon.
Unique again, too.
That doesn't want to be an icon, and he's one of those guys. Like I know we talk about it, and I know you rag on me that like sometimes you just got to separate the man from the art.
Yeah,
he's a case where you really have to because he is such a dick.
Oh yeah, and it's tough for me sometimes. I agree. It is.
And I find it much easier with authors and like. Where as opposed to an actor, because like I can even do that with a director because you don't see the director. Whereas an actor, you're like, no, I see you on screen, face, and then I see you off screen, and you're a huge douche. So when I see you on screen, I just don't buy it. You know, who I guess my number 3.
I guess so. Because where was Miller on your list? Was he 2 or 1?
He was 2.
Okay. Yeah. I guess number 3. Yeah.
Okay, so my number 3 is Neil Gaiman. I know we talked about him the last time we did this podcast. He's also one of my favorite authors. Mm-hmm. I just finished rereading
American Gods.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
that's okay.
I got a good memory, like an Oliphant.
Yeah, and just what he does, I find it's like I know we said like yes, it's unique. He is very unique. He does his own thing, and not only does he do his own thing. To be honest, I actually thought he was dead for like the longest time. I didn't realize he was as young as he was.
I knew he wasn't dead just because I knew like.
I thought
the movie's been talked about.
I thought he was like older, like he was like he was kind of doing stuff in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Not like the 90s, 2000s, whatever.
Yeah.
He's so unique. Mm-hmm. He's so fun. The Sandman series is incredible. Mm-hmm. All his novels are. I mean, I have varying opinions on them, but I do all find them enjoyable reads. Yeah. Just what he does is I like it because it takes comic books to a different level.
Yeah.
And it's something fun, and it's something, it's scary, and it's new,
not
and
very
it adds
comic booky.
No,
it's very different.
And it really makes it. It's hey, we're not just doing a comic book with explosions and fighting. It's like let's tell a nice personal story with visual images to aid what we're doing with it. And I think he does it in a very unique and accessible way, and I got to give him all the props.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't put him in my top 5 because all I've read from him is Sandman. I said to you last time, I've only read it once when I was younger. I desperately want to read it again. It's just like the time factor. But haven't read any of the books, but when I did read it was great. It's phenomenal. It does stick out of being so different, like you said. And it was almost harder for me being like younger to get in, and then once I got in, I was in. But those first few issues, because you're right, it doesn't feel like your every average day comic book. And then being younger, that was like a jolt of like, this is strange. But then eventually it's like, oh, this is a good strange, Because sometimes you get that, but then it's like, oh, this is a bad strange. Like, I'm 6 issues in, and I'm like, I just wasted a bit, like $10, and it's like,
I felt that it was one Wolverine run. Like it started off with one artist, and then it switched artists halfway, and I was like, and I was digging it, and it was kind of like
so
the pulp fiction kind of 1950s look to it, and I was like, and then it switched, and I was like, I don't care anymore.
I find it easier for them to switch writers and artists, and even though we're doing a writers podcast right now, like artists, that is because obviously that's what you see, but it's just like it can take you out of a series like that.
That's why I haven't read The Long Halloween, because I didn't like the look, so every time I picked it up, I was like, I just can't feel it.
It's understandable.
And then at the same time, that's why I picked up Thor for the first time with his was like Marvel like Re-Evolution or whatever, when they first redid that, and everything they did was watercolors.
Yeah.
And there was no really kind of distinct lines, and it is a beautiful comic book. There's like some panels, and it'll just be like a full page, and it looks so incredible. And then you mix it with an incredible story. And to be honest, I was actually thinking about putting their writers in my list because I love that so much, and I go back and read it all the time.
Yeah.
And comic books are one of those things, like I'll read them, I will go back to them in like 6 years because I can't read them again because it's like I already know it, and I find I kind of skip pages. Whereas it's not like a novel where you really kind of got a dense because you have the pictures and you know the story. You can kind of like almost fast forward through it. Like I want to get through it fresh again. Yeah. And like
I'm the reverse. The ones I really like, I read like once a year. Like
I do that with novels, but
see, I'm the reverse of like Killing Joke, Long Halloween. One I guess I'll get into right now, like Ultimate X-Men. Talking about my number 3 is Mark Millar, who's like been huge this past few year. Like between like all the movies and whatnot, I got a list. Just
I'm not actually that I'm probably am familiar with stuff, but I don't really know the name.
So for me, when I first started reading him, I won't talk about as much because I've talked about so much times. But I started with Ultimate X-Men. He really kicked that off. I loved the new take of X-Men. It's right when I started to buy comics and read comics like ongoing, and it was like a really really cool take, a very very like alternate dimension. One that was fun. I've not kept up with it, but it's Kick-Ass. When I read Kick-Ass, I read it because I heard the movies come out, read Kick-Ass. Fantastic, very unique once again. Very different, very...
I love Kick-Ass.
Yeah,
that was a surprise. I don't think it got it. The second one was but I don't think it got enough credit for what it was.
He's the writer of the comics. And then for me, the big one is Civil War. Civil War for me was a huge event. That's once again, as I was reading comics, so I got to read it issue to issue. And as I got older, there was some stuff that wasn't as tight in the comic book as I remembered. But I still love the story. It's still my top 10 storylines. Because, yeah, there's some cheesy stuff with, like... What? Are you looking at all this stuff?
Yeah, because I'm not familiar, so I was just looking up Kick-Ass. Do you know who produced that film? Brad Pitt.
Wow.
Right?
That's strange.
That is weird.
The things people will produce sometimes. That's very strange. But yeah, with Civil War, that is one of my favorite storylines.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I actually do know like Wanted. Yeah, no, I do actually know a lot more.
He's a really talented writer.
Yeah.
He's almost, to me, like, I think he's written some DC stuff, but he's kind of like Marvel's Jeff Johns in a way that anything he writes is great. Some stuff won't be like a unique out of this world, but anything is quality. And yeah, Civil War for me was a huge thing as a kid because obviously I was like younger, like pre-teen, and it was like superheroes fighting superheroes with a good, and I still like the storyline. Like I said, not as tight, and sometimes maybe there's too many like spin-off issues and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it's like just the storyline of, we got to see a bit in the movie, but the whole like superhero registration act. Phenomenal idea. You could have many times just had superheroes fighting for some stupid reason, but we're hunting, and obviously maybe shades of Watchmen, but you got to join us or we're going to hunt you down. In the movies, it's much more like, hey, you should join us or you got to retire. But in the comic books, it's legit. We're going to lock you up if you don't. Like, it happens, spoilers in the movie, but like, it's much more hardcore and to the point in the comic books and ends in a great battle. And it's like, that art of, you see it a bunch of times when it's like Tony's silence of like 100 of people and then like Cap's at 100 people. It's great, and his writing sets that up so well. And it's a
very real conflict. It's something that it's not like... and I know we talk about this all the time, but like the BVS conflict, where it felt a little forced. It didn't feel in the characters, like it didn't feel natural for the characters. Whereas like in the comics of war, it really does feel like a natural evolution that would happen. Yeah. There would be people that are like, no, like we have a lot of power. We should be held accountable
and
for
I like that he did the flip of the Cap and Tony, and some people don't like that because they're like, oh yeah, Cap, like he should have been Tony, but like, no, I like that because that even made it more intriguing, because you would think, of course, Cap's gonna be with government and Tony's against it, but
I find that interesting when people have that, because I don't think they have a necessarily a strong sense of the history. Is that Cap is not fighting for the government. He's fighting for the U.S. against a fascist government. Yeah. And this is a fascist bill. Yeah. And that's why he's fighting. He goes, no, I fought Nazis. They did the same thing.
Yeah. And he just happens to be working with the government, not fighting for the government.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where he's more...
And right there, there's that nether level of intrigue that you have. And that Tony Stark of all people that would be like, no, the government's right. Like the guy that used to sell arms to fucking anybody who'd buy. Like, it's very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so I have him there for multiple things. I love Mark Millar. Anything he'll write, I will read.
Actually, in Order of the British Empire. So was who was the first guy that we talked about? Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, when like you look at that, like Kick-Ass, Civil War, a few big films that have already been based. I can't remember. I thought there was one other storyline that they were working on. Yeah, Wanted, but I thought like a Marvel one. But yeah, and then like I said, my ultimate love, like no pun intended, my ultimate love for Ultimate X-Men. Yes. It was like has a special place in my heart. And it was fantastic. So yeah, it was number 3 for me.
Who's your number 2?
Oh, he lives at the bottom of the film. Let's see. For some reason, no. Oh, wait a second, because I have.
Have you gone through everybody except I assume both are number 1?
1, 2. No, technically I was wrong. Mark Millar was 4.
Okay.
Because I did the. No, Frank Miller. Honorable mention 5. Frank Miller. 4. Mark Millar 3. Boom, boom. Okay, I didn't cop out. I had 5. Frank Miller was my 5th one.
Okay.
I win. I had just honorable mentions. I did my list. Okay, then I'll go to mine quickly.
To your 2, and then I assume our 1's...
Well, I have my 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is number... Who... I don't think you think number 1 is... I think number 1 is definitely not Arsene. What are you pointing at? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll leave him to last. He wasn't my number 1, but I'll leave him to last.
Oh, really?
Okay. Because I'll give you my reason, but... Okay,
we'll get to it. So
number 3, Scott Snyder is on.
Okay, yeah.
Just because...
I just haven't read enough of his stuff. I'm just the Batman run.
I've only read a few things, and it's just because it's a lot of the time where I haven't jumped too much on a Batman run at the time. I was... With Ultimate X-Men, I happened to be... At the time... Like, there's a few runs that I did, but this was my first starting, and especially because I got to the end of it, from here's your start of the run, here's your 4 years later.
Yeah.
And I think and we've talked about this many times before, and we want to do a podcast just on his run, but for me, I honestly think he has produced one of the best Batman runs of all time. It is a top 5 worthy, I think.
Yeah, well, it's and I know we've talked this before, like, when he's doing one of his arcs, I'll read the first 2, and I'll hate it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll stop, I'll wait till the arc finishes, and reread it from the beginning. And I'm like, oh, I see what he's doing, I love it.
Yeah.
Like, especially when he went to 0 Year, I was like, what the fuck
Yeah, that was the one where he almost lost me, because I'm like, I don't want to go back in past.
No, okay, and I didn't like what he was doing. I didn't like his Red Hood storyline when it started. And then when you see it, like, in its entirety, I'm like, oh my god, I love it. I love what he's doing with all these characters. But, like, you read the first 2 issues, and because he's setting up something that's going to take a couple issues to pay off, you don't quite see where he's getting to, but I love it. But I think his biggest standout is the Owls, the Court of Owls, and the Night of Owls. Those are, I think, some of the best Batman arcs ever.
That, and I would still throw out Joker Endgame, because that... Yeah. I obviously have made clear, and we've talked about Endgame already before, so we won't go into depth of it, but, like, I obviously love Batman, Joker, and the writing can always be good, because it can be easy, but when you can get it excellent... They nailed excellent, and just the relationship between them. And the reason I like when you say the whole, like, the thing with the arcs, the reason it didn't bug me, because honestly, I get a very, like, Hannibal vibe from it, and that was the same thing of, like, episodes alone might be like, that's not the strongest, but then when you watch the whole season, you're like, man, that's why this happened. You see the whole puzzle, and you're like, that's beautiful thing of art. And for me, that's what I was fine with the single issues and can read, and then when you got to the end, it was that satisfies. When you get the end of Court Owls, it's great. When you even get the end of Death of Family, that's great with Joker. And they like I've said this before, I love the setup of, you got to get rid of your sidekicks, or next time I'm back, I'm gonna fuck shit up. And then Endgame is a payoff, because so many times in comic books the villain says that, and it's like, well, whatever. Yeah. But then Joker, spoilers, literally like uses this super strong laughing gas and uses just on Gotham, just like, fuck it. And then, like, Batman...
That was the weirdest fucking story.
And then Batman...
It was awesome.
And then Batman uses all the Arkham films to help him. And it was like... That's what it was. It was not... Because with Batman, I find, it's always good, but sometimes can just go into solid, same old tropes because it's Batman. But I feel like Scott Snyder, even with 0 Year, I was not a fan of it at the start, but then when it started going, I was really happy with it. Even with Super Heavy, with Jim Gordon. Mm-hmm. When I heard that... I'm like, this is the one that I'm definitely not going to like. Like, why is Jim Gordon Batman? Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I have really no desire. I'm going to keep reading it because I love Scott Snyder's run so far. And he even made me like that. I know you haven't got the end. The ending of his series is very, very nice. It's very, very great.
I remember...
It's so satisfying. And he's even just for this run, he's one of my favorites. It's one of these, like, who knows? He could do a bunch of shit, but, like, this run has a special place in my heart because it's great and because I've started from start to finish. Like, I don't know if I've done like arcs and then like, oh, you'll miss like a couple of months, so you just wait till it ends. But I've never full on started, okay, I'm reading every issue here to go. Like, I've never waited. Like, even with Ultimate X-Men, sometimes like when the artists switch, like, okay, I'll wait for the graphic novel to come out, read all together, and then go along. But this was like my first run where like, oh, I started at the start and the end and there. And I'm excited for Batman All-Star, which at the time of this recording I haven't read, but I was so happy they announced he's coming back. Cause
well, I think one of the weirdest ones, but I think the most effective ones was when he was doing those, it was at the end of Endgame, last like 4 or 5 pages. It was those inmates that broke out, and they were telling their story of who the Joker is.
Yeah.
When I first read the first one, I was like, Scott Snyder, you fucking idiot.
Oh, especially when they talking about Joker being immortal, I was really worried.
I was like, oh my god. And then I realized that he's told each one of these inmates a different story to fit into their own little psyche and problem and world. And I was like, you're a fucking genius.
Yeah.
You keep the mysterious of them. It's kind of like in Sherlock... Is it season 2 or season 3 when he comes back after you think he's
seen it.
Oh, really?
I've wanted to,
okay,
and
then,
it's just like...
I guess that was kind of a spoiler.
That's
but, well, okay, so
he's
like,
gonna I know Sherlock survives. So.
Okay, so, like, he dies, but you don't know how he does it, and then they open up the next season, and they show you, like, 2 or 3 possible ways to do it, and you're like, oh, that's how he did it. And then they show it again from another person telling it, and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
How did he do it? And like it's interesting that you kind of get that and you're like, oh, who is the joke? It adds a mystery when I thought you were trying to reveal it.
Yeah.
I just got to give props. I think that it was a great run.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
But yeah, that's what I think. I think in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're gonna see like those like Platinum Edition graphic novels. Like I feel like we were in the Renaissance of Batman. I feel like that's why I guess maybe I could be wrong, but I felt like it was just nice to be. I have not been in a time where there was a run going on where I felt like, okay, this is something different and special. You can be like, oh, this is good, or this is fun, but this felt like in 10 years people are going to talk about this. In 10 years people are going to be like, man, that Scott Snyder run. Like, people, there's so many people. That was one of Kyle's when he read Corrales. He's like, Jesus, this is good. Yeah. And I just gave it to Dylan GeekVerse and he's starting it. And that same thing, like, it's very inviting. That's what I like too, but it's just like, it is a run that I think is... People, it's the same way we go pick up Returns. We pick up Hush. Like, it's one of those runs I think people are going to pick up because they've heard so much about it. And I don't think it disappoints for my personal taste.
And by no means am I taking it away from Scott Snyder, but I think the biggest aspect is the actual artwork in that.
Greg Capullo kills
is absolutely, especially in, I think it's Court of Owls when he's in the maze and he has a thing where he's like breaking and I was like, I remember reading that or like looking at it and just being like, whoa.
And that was a page turn where you're just like, man, you know, next. But I remember, I think I've already said this on the podcast, but when Kyle read that, he texted me immediately right away, like, that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
he is absolutely phenomenal. I cannot speak higher enough of that run. Like it's great.
So that was my number 3. Who's your number 2?
We already talked about my number 2.
Miller?
Yeah.
You have one more?
I have one more.
Okay. Well then, we'll talk about your one more because that second your number 1 is my number 2.
Okay.
So and there's like.
Who's your number 1?
What? I'm not gonna reveal that yet.
Okay. So yeah, we'll talk about my number 2 or my number 1. Your number 2.
Yeah.
Alan Moore. I thought we would have actually both had the same number 1s, and I thought you
would have I'll spoil right now so it makes more sense to you. Jeff Loeb is my number 1 because Long Halloween's my favorite Batman story. He wrote that, and he wrote Hush.
Okay, all right.
So it's just because Alan Moore, same thing. He is a master, but it's just because I love Long Halloween and Hush so much. I was kind of like, you know what? I'm gonna give him the nod as like my favorite writer because like Long Halloween's my favorite Batman story. And Hush might be number 2 or 3 because Hush is so damn strong. Like you read, that's another one I give people, and it's like they read Hush, like, damn, that's good. You know,
that is a great run.
Yeah,
without being like, overwhelming by having literally everybody in his rogue gallery.
And that's why, like I said, you will like Long Halloween because it's the same sort of basis of it because it's a bunch of rogue galleries, and I love. Is Batman being a detective, you know, like that's one of the best things ever. Like, and I really had to struggle with Alan Moore and Jeff Loeb could easily switch, but it's just because I like those 2 stories so much. It's like I'll give the nod to.
So
Loeb.
I actually just looked up one of my favorite stories. I thought Alan Moore did it, was actually Mark Millar, which is Red Sun, which I know you haven't read yet, but that is truly one of the greatest stories ever written.
I read it now since the last.
Oh, you have? Okay,
Because when we did our first call, it was like almost. 8 months ago now, I hadn't read it, and then I was like, okay, I gotta read it because so many people tell me good stuff, and it's such a great like alternate universe.
And you know, it's a story that if it was with a poor writer, it'd be like, oh, that's an interesting gimmick, but it's believable, and I love how they had Batman in there as like that. It was great. So shout out to Mark Millar. Yeah. But with Alan Moore, V for Vendetta, Watchmen,
Brilliant.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Swamp Thing.
I've not read that much of League. I've read it.
I did after I rewatched the movie, and I was like. And I was like, it's not that great. But why do people love it? So I checked out and I was like, all right, I can dig it.
Swamp Thing run is so underrated. Not underrated in the combo community, but like not enough people know who
how sick Swamp Thing is. Yeah, he is.
And I want him. That's why I want Justice League Dark. I want.
And I know we talked about Frank Miller. As good as Alan Moore is, his persona is so awful in real life. He hates everything that he's done, apparently. Yeah. That's the vibe that I get.
Well, this is what we'll go on that in a second, but this is the vibe where we talk about Batman being my Long Halloween. My favorite comic book of all time is The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
That is, I could read that every day of the week. And not only just that, because Brian Bullard's art is so fucking beautiful. To me,
it really, yeah.
that is, for me, out of any, you can't, that's why for me it's my favorite written one, and for any comic book, it's so beautiful. Like, and I've never seen anything like it. And Brian Bullard hasn't even done, like, that many huge runs or anything. Like, I don't understand why. Like, I just want a huge, like, 500-page graphic novel with that art, because the way the Joker's hair and his look and everything, like, that's the right. I just want to give a shout out to him because he compliments. But that's the thing of Killing Joke, phenomenal. And then, like, decades later, he's like, it's not really that good of a story. And I'm just kind of like, fuck you, man. Especially for me, like, and he can say that. I guess he created, but it's just like, for something I love so much, I would love for the guy to take pride in his work, because Killing Joke, to me, that was the very first comic book I gave Kyle. That is the first comic book I give people, because it's a perfect representation of Batman. It's a perfect representation of Joker. It's a representation of their relationship. It's fantastic. And like you already listed, V for Vendetta, fantastic. Watchmen, fantastic.
Watchmen, to me, he's number one because of the Watchmen. Yeah, that's it. Every time you read it, you see something more, whether it be in the artwork, whether it be in the story. He managed to create a cast of superheroes that we feel familiar with, that we already know, but they aren't carbon copies of, like, Batman or, your Iron Man, Captain America. And it feels so human dealing with a non-human entity with Dr. Manhattan and his whole story arc, and how Ozymandias, I think my favorite part is how he tells them the plan.
And like, why like,
why would you tell me? He's like, it's already done. And I love that aspect to it. The comedian, I think, is just incredible. Rorschach is everything. It's so incredible. Night Owl is even interesting, who you wouldn't think he would be, but is so good. Like, there's just I can't speak highly enough about it. He has
the arc of, like, just this, like, normal, like, semi-normal guy trying not to be a superhero, but that Corey still kind of wants to be. And that's the thing too, that the themes of that book it is really, like, it's such a cheesy thing to say nowadays, like, the ahead of its time, but it is really ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And the little things that I didn't like that they took on the movie, they had a little bit of it, but, like, is the undertone, like, sexuality, or the undertone sexuality and homosexuality in it. Obviously, you have I can't remember her name, but the superhero that was killed because she was a lesbian, but then the whole underlying thing of Ozymandias being a homosexual, and the possibility of Rorschach being a homosexual as well. And it's a thing of not made a big deal of, like, Rorschach might be gay, but there's not a 10 chapter about him having to come out, this or that, blah blah. It's like, he might be gay, he might not be, that's it. But it's something personal and something that makes it even feel real, because most of the time I found, like, in real life, like, I guess it's only a small sample size, but when people are gay, I feel like in TV shows and whatnot, it's made to be such a big deal. Like, every time, like, if you find out someone's gay, it's like this huge thing, but it's like in real life, it's just like, okay, and you move on with your day. I don't give a shit. I have gay friends. It's like, and that's why I like Watchmen. And the reason I give it credit, nowadays you might be like, oh, that's not a big thing, but when that came out, that was a huge thing. And obviously we read it when we were already 20 years, 30 years after, but still, when you read that, and you're like, when did this come out? Like, they were touching upon this and this and this, like, and I always bring this up, but the comedian, who is one of the biggest pieces of shit characters ever, near the end, you kind of feel for him, you know? And
you get what he was doing.
Oh yeah, and it's fantastic, and it's a story where there is good guys, but you kind of see what everyone's doing. Even though Ozymandias, to me, like, on my personal level, you should probably kill him, but it's like you kind of get his point of where he's going, you know? And it works in the end, until who knows what happens after Rorschach, like, leaves his journal, that fucks everything up. And I love I love that, but
well, I think I think as good as it is as a story, the way that it's framed with that little kid reading the comic about the
Tales of the Friar,
is such a great way to frame the story, to give break in action, to set up your different set pieces, so it doesn't feel like you're going from set piece to set piece to set piece, and it just adds another depth to it and another flow. And I love how you'll have there's a couple where you'll have, like, the story on one panel, and then the other side of the page is, like, the other story that's going on, and it's such a unique way to do it. It is everything about the Watchmen is just another level. It is truly a masterpiece of
I didn't like the Tales of the Blackfriar when I read it the first time.
I didn't either.
I was annoyed by it. So like, bored. So, like, come on. And then once you get to the end, you kind of like, well, I was like, that's really good. But then when you read it a second time, knowing what happens and knowing the context of everything, that's when you're like, holy shit, this is really good. But the first time, I was bored. You got through it, I read it, but I was not invested at all. I was like, you know, and like, not that Watchmen was like that, but there was a level of some stuff you read didn't have the same meaning as it does now, because you know what happens, and it doesn't have the same meaning as you keep reading it over and over.
I think that is the true strength of a good story, is that when you read it, and to me, it's The Hobbit. Every time I reread The Hobbit, which I do every year, I get something more out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's whether it be nostalgia or, in my opinion, the phenomenal writing, it adds something to it every time you read it. And I think, and that's why he's my number one. Mm-hmm. As much as he's got a great characters and great runs, he's created the best comic book.
Oh yeah, and then we give enough credit for that, but V for Vendetta is another fantastic one.
God,
it's another one that does not feel like a comic book. It feels like it's completely own separate beast, and it's fantastic. And it's one that I actually haven't read too recently. I'd probably say it's been 5 years. I really want to read it again, but I remember cousin had it, read a bunch, and I kept it for a while, and I reread it I think 3 times in 1 month one time, just because it is you're very glued to the page. And it's a different beast in Watchmen. Obviously, it's not as huge and impactful, but it's still really damn good. And the solo story is so damn good. And and Swamp Thing, that's another one I want to read again. I read it when I was younger. I read it one more time when I was older, a couple of years ago. But I want to read it again, even though I kind of remember it fully. But I just want to read it again because it's good. Because that's a character that, as you've seen other times, it's definitely hard to pull off. A fucking a fucking creature made out of plants.
A bush.
Something that could be really cheesy.
I have issues.
Yeah, something that could be really cheesy and has been really cheesy in the past. Mm-hmm. He pulls off, and for me, and I'm just listening to all the work we said, and it's the same thing where we'll probably have this conversation another time, but with a Killing Joke. I think maybe some people see that as a the Joker trying to be sympathized or whatnot. I never took it that way. I took it as, you saw this guy's life and what it was before, and then, like he says, the one bad day, and then he's pure evil. I never felt sympathetic towards the Joker. It was just hey, this guy did have a normal life, but now he's completely horrible person. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like that he didn't try... I don't know. I feel like people that feel like he was trying to get people to sympathize with the Joker kind of miss the message of the Killing Joke. Yeah. Because to me, the backstory was to show you, he had a tragic life, but that shouldn't excuse the Joker for all the things he's doing, Mm-hmm. I don't know. People
he says, one bad day. One bad day does not turn you into what the Joker is.
Yeah, and some people said he's an anti-hero. The Joker's not an anti-hero in that story. No. Just because he has a tragic backstory, he could have became the Joker and become something better or became a good person. Because in that story, that really plays up is he crazy, or is this a choice that he's making, the Joker? And that's why that's my favorite part of the Joker, is getting into that, and he really gets into that. And there's the great scene at the end great panels with Batman and Joker, and the joke told and everything like that. And it's just breaking it down with these two, and even Batman being oh, we've been doing this for years, I can help you. And Joker's look at me, you're not gonna help me. And that's why I like when for the last third act, he's kind of acting crazy, but all of a sudden he's no, I know what's happening here. That's why I love that. For me, Killing Joke is the perfect thing in the Joker, because you never know. You never know if he's crazy. You never know if he's just a guy who's normal and said, fuck it, I'm going to be fucking crazy because my pregnant wife died by getting electrocuted in a bathtub. What was that bathtub? What was it? Wasn't it?
Honestly, I'm totally thinking of the Scott Snyder ring, because I'm going to say that's the same thing.
Did she get electrocuted by the toaster, I thought?
Yeah, it was something like that.
But it's something stupid, and it's something that's and you hear that and you're oh, that sounds lame, but it's that's the point, because it's just something you never thought would kill his wife, kills his wife, and then these gangsters well, too bad, you're coming with us, It's just that story. Also, and that story doesn't have much levels as a V or Watchmen, because it's much smaller, but that's why I always talk about that story, because it's so smaller, but it still hits home and hits good so much. I think maybe it's 30 to 40 pages, I say, maybe the most Killing Joke, but even that small amount, you think it's bigger or smaller?
Than 40 pages? The whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it's about 100.
You think it's about 100?
Yeah.
Oh, even then, a lot shorter than the other two, but
oh, yeah. No, without a doubt.
I just thought it was shorter, but and then even then, the little thing, I can't say. I don't know remember if he wrote it. There's that, the short story at the end of the Killing Joke.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he wrote that. I agree with you. Alan Moore he's fantastic. It does suck that same thing as Frank Miller. He is kind of a dick. He does shit on a lot of stuff, and anytime someone makes a movie, I'm not going to see that because it's going to be garbage.
Yeah.
Leave Short in general, and it's true. I can't remember if it was a verse that he saw that then that started thinking that or said after, but it's it does kind of suck that
The Watchmen is an okay film, and V for Vendetta is an okay film. Actually, I'd argue V for Vendetta is a pretty
I think
darn good film.
Yeah, I think it is. I think V is...
I just don't think they've been... I think they're too dense. I think they're too dense to translate to film.
Yeah.
Because I think you need...
They're definitely novel-like, and...
They are, and it's especially because they are so complex. It's not like... And obviously not that movies can't be complex, because they can be multifaceted, but when you read that... I think they actually benefit from you reading, like, let's say, the first third of the book, sitting down and just thinking about it. Thinking about what's going to happen, the repercussions of these characters, what their actions mean. Whereas in a movie, you kind of, unless you have terrible pacing, you don't have time to, like, breathe and understand what just happened.
Yeah.
It's, because you got to keep it moving, because if it's not moving, like, I don't want to sit people just think in a room.
TV show.
Yeah, and I think that would have been a lot better. And I know a lot of people, Game of Thrones sometimes is criticized. Oh, it's slow.
Yeah.
No, it's setting up, because if
it is slow
at times,
it sets up, but it is
because it has to earn these emotional scenes.
Yeah.
And if it's all that, then nothing matters. It's just like with Superman. If everything is world threatening, nothing's world threatening.
Well, and I think with Game of Thrones, to me, that is I really like the show a lot. Like, obviously not as much as you and other people, but I really like the show. I think it is one of the best shows ever made. It's not my top 10 favorite, but I could look at it and be like, yeah, definitely. But it's a show that I'm very excited to watch when it's done, because I think that will be very similar to Watchmen, where you'll watch certain scenes and certain things play out, and it'll mean more. Where in the moment, if Game of Thrones was a binge show, it wouldn't be as bad. And that's why with season 5, I actually would wait for episodes, watch 4, wait for, and I actually enjoyed it more. When lots of people are like, I hated season 5, like, oh, I actually liked it.
Yeah, the Dorne scene was kind of eh.
Yeah, but like, that's the thing of, I feel like Game of Thrones, once it's done and I go back and watch it, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more, and that's the benefit I have had with Watchmen, is you read it once, you're done, and then the second time you read it, you know the whole story. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what you were saying with film, there is a lot of stuff they can't let hit in Watchmen, and I would actually still say I think The Watchmen is good, honestly, and I think because of the BVS stuff and Man of Steel, like, we don't give Snyder credit for that anymore. Obviously, it is a lot. He's just working off material that's already there, and, like, he's just doing shots. But I still think that movie could have been a lot worse, and somebody could have adapted it, and at least he tried to do as much as possible just to be like, okay, I'm going to stick as close to source material, and that's it. I feel a lot of people would have changed things, and I really like that. I actually really like the 5-hour Ultimate Cut. I watched that a lot. It's a full day's worth, but it's like, it's a great experience, and I think there could be a better version, like I said, a TV show, but it is something that I don't know if it'll never get to the length of the book, because the book is, it does not feel like a comic book, like you see it on, like it's online right now, it's like, oh, the New York Times named best 50 books, and it's like, it is worthy of that, because it does, even V, which is really good, and it feels like it does translate its comic book a bit. Watchmen is something where you read, like, this is, it is on its own island, so that's why I do understand people not liking possibly Rebirth messing with it. At the end of the day, I just kind of like separate it and just go like, well, the book is not going to get hurt by this, like, it's just going to be like, they're saying the book happened, that's its own thing, and then comic books, # parallel universe. That's why a parallel universe, nothing can matter.
Yeah.
And if I get to see a scene with Dr. Manhattan and Batman staring down each other, I'm not going to like complain.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah, like, obviously it's going to be a little weird, but it's like, that book will always stand on its own. Even the film that's like, maybe not as great, didn't hurt the book at all for me.
No.
So it's like,
yeah, I actually, that's actually a good thing that I would like to throw in the last rant, rave, repeat that we did about people giving some movie passes and others. It's like, oh, it's ruined my childhood. Yeah. Did it ruin your childhood? Did Ninja Turtles, because it sucked? Is your life over now?
You can go watch the old ones and they're the exact same.
Yeah, they're the exact same. They're also, man. I don't know if you saw what the Screen Junkies did when they put out like some of the Ninja Turtle shit, like the musical and stuff. I was like,
there's a lot of bad stuff. Even though I still like that original trilogy.
They're okay. They're never my favorite. I
liked them when I was a kid.
I never really liked them. I had the toys, like my brothers passed them down to me, and I like the idea of them more than I like the actual execution of them. I like the original, to be honest, like the actual comic when it was dark and shit, and it was like a parody of all that stuff. But yeah. So, do you want to talk about anything else?
No. Like, I talked about Jeff Loeb. I talked about everything. I talked about Arnold Mentions. That's about it. That was good to talk about some comic books. There was anything you wanted to say?
I Arnold Mention. I'd like to give a shout out to Robert Kirkman for The Walking Dead.
Fair. Yeah.
Also, Battle Pope, which I thought was just hilarious. But no, The Walking Dead's, I mean, it's been going for what, like 100 and something issues now?
I think it's past 150, to be honest. I think.
I'd like to think that as well. And I mean, it's created a show of questionable value or of quality over the years, especially this last season finale, which is honestly making me. I might not watch the next season. I might just wait until it's
I will
done.
because Morgan. I want to see that
you know
scene
what?
He killed that.
He absolutely did, and that's
why I want to see that.
That's about it, though.
That sounded so like unenthused. That's
well, and to be honest, I'm a huge fan. I watch it every single week since the pilot. Mm-hmm. Like I absolutely love it, and to be honest, it's burned me too many times with poor finales and poor writing.
I think I'll watch until Morgan's dead, and then I might switch over to the whole like I'm gonna wait for a season because I'm pretty much ready to give up. But Morgan, I always like a good villain. He's a great actor.
He is a good villain.
Yeah, that's why I want.
I'm just kind of tired of characters doing stupid things to have the plot go forward.
Yeah,
doesn't need to happen. But yeah, I think this is an interesting comic book podcast. So we actually talked about comic books.
Yeah, it's nice. I've always loved doing more, but there's so much news out there, and it's tough too. I've said this before. Talk about like current issues because like you're in different spots, everybody's in different spots. I don't want.
And we read different ones too.
Yeah, and you don't want to spoil like for DC Rebirth. You don't want to spoil certain things, or for like I guess we're talking about comic books right now, but like I'll throw it on our dynamic duo news. I'm sure at some point, whether it's before or after. Blah blah. It's like Civil War 2 I'm reading right now. I honestly thought is not going to be a bag of shits because Michael Bendis is writing it, and I gave him shout out my honorable mention. I loved his Daredevil run, but it's like anytime there's like a soul story like Civil War 2, you're like, I don't know. This is especially because the movie just came out. You're like, this is definitely a cash grab. Like they're just pumping out, and it's like a really good storyline. But that same thing, like I wouldn't really come up here to talk about because honestly, I don't like. I still think about like I gotta think about this podcast like listens wise, and I don't know how much they would get listened because people are in different places. Some people want to read till the very end. So that's why I usually like same with Scott Snyder. We're gonna one time talk about his entire run, but I think it's better that we'll end up waiting at least a few months after it's been done.
Yeah,
so I
with
feel
the
like
hardcover for the last arc to go.
Yeah, exactly. Because then at that point, if you really wanted to read it, you would have read it at that point. It's been months. So, but yeah, I love talking about comic books. We do this all the time. We talk about comic films, TV. But yeah, comic books is where it all starts. And yeah, thank you for very much listening.
Actually, why don't we do our recommendations?
We don't do that on this one, but we can recommendation.
I think we do it on the
We do it on the Dynamic Duo Superhero Roundup.
We're
just like the bad guys. We round up the news. But no, no, you do one because I would recommend Civil War 2. Honestly, if you thought the same way with me of like just a cash and just crap, no, there is. This time it's Captain Marvel, Iron Man. There is. I'm not going to spoil it. You got to see it. There is a really good conflict in there, and yeah, I'm 2 issues in. At this point, I think the third one's coming out, and it's something that, like I said, I thought I'm not gonna read it. Like it's just gonna be lame, and I'm really like, man, I'm desperately dying for that next one. So that's what I recommend.
I'm gonna give a shout out. I have 2 recommendations. I'll start with
one. No.
Yeah, well, surprise. I don't know if you've ever read the Magician series by Raymond D. Feist.
No.
It's a fantasy series author, and then he had some graphic novels made of his first 4 books, and I can't get enough of them. The artwork is phenomenal.
What year?
God, like 2002, 2003.
Okay.
So they're older. I have the first 3, I believe, or 4. And I'm trying. It's almost impossible to find the last couple.
Is it
ones,
a series? Yeah, it's ended now. Like there's no more.
Yeah, the books are done, and then I don't, and then the graphic novel is supposed to be just for like the first like 2 books.
That is the nice thing of reading books that I wasn't alive for. I didn't read because it's like there's a nice endpoint to the arc. And you're like, nice.
Yes, which is it's like this is done with these characters. I just give a shout out to those. I've been rereading them, and I just forgot how much I absolutely love all those characters. And the artwork is phenomenal. I love the world that he's created. He's definitely my favorite author. But I also want to give a shout out to my main recommendation would be Lady Thor. I don't know if you guys read Battle Thor. I personally thought it sucked. I had no idea what the hell was going on. I know we've talked about this. I hate when you have a whole bunch of tie-in comic books because, like, no, I'm reading this arc because I want to know about these characters. Yeah, I don't want to have to read 6 other different characters, 1 issue, which I only understand half of it, to figure out what's going on in this issue. I don't like that. So the Battle Thors, I was like, this makes no fucking sense to me. Then they got back to Lady Thor. They picked up the story they left off. The artwork's incredible. I love Malekith as the villain. He's the true villain that we didn't get in the movies. The artwork is great. I'm just loving it. I can't get enough.
Yeah, I've been reading the Avengers comic. I'm up to date on those because like Civil War, they kind of tie in. And yeah, I've actually liked her in that because I was always like, I'd never like when they just take a character and change the sex because it's just like, but
yeah. But the way they did it was, and I like how Thor's still in it, and I love what they have going on with Odin and
I didn't know she had cancer too. That was a big thing. I didn't, and because in Avengers, because she's like kind of seeing Falcon, which is I still think kind of weird because I wonder how Thor feels about that, but. Yeah, like, and then
Another.
Like, I love. I love the whole thing of she has cancer when she's not Thor, and then every time she turns into Thor, it like regresses her progress, so she's never fully recovering from the cancer.
Yeah.
So her choosing to be Thor is like making a statement to kind of like decompress her, like her.
What are you getting at here?
Progress.
There
Progress
you go. Okay.
with the chemo and everything like that. Sorry, it's late when we're recording, but yeah, the progress. So. Yeah, like it's semi-late. I work early, no, but
I actually have to work tomorrow too.
Yeah,
it's like
so
the first time in 3 months.
But yeah, no, she's actually enjoyable in that. So I don't know if I'll ever pick the single ones up, but I might once like a run's done, because like once I get into like usually 5 runs, I'm like, okay, these are the runs I'm sticking with. If there's a good run, I'm gonna wait till that's all one.
Yeah,
because
well,
you don't want, once you have too many going, like
it's
right
so
now
overwhelming.
I have a lot, but the good thing is like I think I have like 7 or 8, but like Moon Knight's a miniseries, so it's like okay, that's gonna be done soon. And like so there's certain ones, but it's like there is when like I'm reading Punisher, I'm reading Daredevil, I'm reading Wolverine, I'm reading Avengers, I'm reading Spider-Man, I'm reading New Flash, I'm reading like I'm literally almost up to 10.
I'm only on Deadpool and Thor right now. Because Batman's done.
Have you read Deadpool's new? I think it's issue.
I haven't actually started his new one. I just have them.
Oh, okay,
because
they're good.
Trying to do Batman and Thor.
When you get to issue 13, I haven't read it yet, but they do a crossover with him, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Daredevil. It's like
I have the actual comic.
Oh, it's I
just haven't
I don't
read
know why
it
I was about to say it's good. I don't know. I only read 2 pages of it, and then I had to like stop. But like, yeah, and Daredevil's been good. There's so much good comic books. If you just listen to this for the shits and giggles, like now's the time to jump in. DC's rebooting. Marvel's kind of like rebooted their shit. Like now's the time. If you're a comic book fan, this is the time. Or if you're a comic book fan of the movies, you want to jump in, jump in. There's a lot of issues just starting now. There's so much good stuff. I sent this a tweet. Like there's something for you if you like action, if you like detective, if you like comedy, if you like fantasy. Like obviously that's always been with comics, but they're definitely trying to do something unique. So thank you very much for listening to the Dynamic Duo podcast. It's always a pleasure to have people listening. You can find us on iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, the whole shebang. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we got some good stuff coming, good stuff going.
We damn well better have some good stuff coming.
Yeah, so
it's all in our minds.
Yeah, so thank you very much for tuning in, and whenever you hear from this next time, it will not be boring. I don't. They can't hear your hand gesture.
You don't know that. What if it's Daredevil listening?